slew of wickets at the end, but still England getting to a score that could be classified as more than respectable. But at one stage, it was looking like 190, 200 was a distinct possibility. The way Jos Buttler was going, the way Alex Hales was going even before that. But then towards the end, just a few wickets falling. It's always going to be hectic, and that's the way it was. 179 for 6. Buttler, the captain, top scoring 73 of 47. Alex Hale providing the muscle at the start of the innings, 52 of 40. Dominated the opening partnership with his captain, and a little cameo of 20 of 14 to Liam Livingstone as part of a very new-looking England middle order, just as the doctor had ordered. Here we are on Cricbuzz Live, joined by Joy Bhattacharjya and one of the doctors who ordered that, Dr. Michael Vaughan. Michael, before we even talk about the score, this batting lineup as it is, going with the situation, is what would please you?
Yeah, I mean, we thought pre-match that they weren't going to stick with the formation that they've gone so far in the World Cup. I think it's a decent score. I think it's just beyond par. Spin obviously is going to hold a big key on this Hughes wicket. I thought Sodhi and Santner were excellent, just going for 48 in their 8 overs with a couple of wickets. Time will tell whether it's a score that England can defend, but I think by getting the runs on the ball, they had a bit of fortune. You can't drop Jos Buttler first by Kane and then Mitchell on the boundary. He was really starting to get into the form that we know that he can produce. I thought Alex Hales played the right way. Alex Hales, with England's batting lineup being so deep, he just has to go. He has to go very early and be ultra aggressive. So I was pleased to see him playing that fashion. Moeen Ali being moved up the order. I thought that might happen. It didn't pay off, but I like that kind of proactive approach. And I guess Ben Stokes coming so far down and having the likes of Harry Brook go ahead of him, he's just where Ben Stokes is at in terms of T20 striking at the minute. England are almost just leaving him down the back end today and allowing those right-handers to go in ahead of him. But I think it's a good score. I think England will be pleased with that total, and I think they'll fancy defending it.
Yeah, it's tough to assess that one. I always think of what Ian Chappell used to say. There was a time when I walked up to him. No, I actually was sitting with him in the commentary box at the mid-innings of a game, and I said, Chappelli, you reckon that's a good enough total? And he looked and said, mate, a good enough total is 1 run more than the opposition score. So you assess it after the 40 overs are done.
No, absolutely. But this is, I think, the one word that you wouldn't use today that you've used before, and Michael was alluding to, was the word timid. This was not a timid English. They were aggressive. They made the right changes. They rang the changes. Moeen Ali going up front. And whether it works or doesn't work, it shows intent from your side, And I think you saw intent all the way down. Right up front, if you see what Buttler and Hales did, that was a partnership that was dominated by Hales. Hales was the guy who was doing the running out there. He got 52 out of that 81. And once he left, it was then that Buttler started getting going only in the 12th, 13th, 14th over. And that's when he really started striking the ball well. But that is the important thing, that somebody or the other was always going well.
And you could see all the partnerships, even the smaller ones, all have a decent strike rate. I mean, we wouldn't count 2 of 2. But everything else was 45 of 27, 27 of 17. So you had the striking going on. And even when you were losing wickets, you knew the runs kept coming.
Absolutely. And I think that's what they did well, that they shuffled the batting order around. They wanted to make sure that, and remember, as Michael is saying, it's a wearing track. So everyone knew the spinners were important. So Santner literally finished off within the first 7, 8, 9 overs. He was over. And that's what they did. They were hoping that they'd restrict England, force England to take chances, and that's how you're going to get wickets. As it turned out, it didn't happen that way. They reached 125 for 2 and 15. And I thought New Zealand did fantastically after that to hold them to the total they did.
But really, I mean, even before we talk about the spinners England have when they come out to defend this total, if we go back to New Zealand's bowling and we term this as a game, a matchup of Bolt and Southee and Ferguson up front against the English batsmen, obviously England won that battle, Michael, because so often we've seen Bolt, Southee, both making those dents up front, no matter who they're playing against.
Yeah, I think this pitch suited the style of play England produced, which is this aggression. There wasn't a great deal of swing, and I think the ball against the seamers was coming onto the bat, and it was true bounce. So it looked quite a hard pitch for the seam bowlers to hold any kind of length consistently and be confident that length was going to be a success. So they had to go searching. England played some nice shots, but when you see the seamers travelling for over 120 odd and the spinners only going for 48 in their 8 overs, you know where the the game's going to lie. It's going to lie for Liam Livingstone, Moeen Ali, in particular Adil Rashid. Adil Rashid's going to hold the key in his last 9 games. He's just got 2 wickets for England with an average of 133, economy just over 8. So he's not in great form. He'll have to have a good night tonight. I feel that if Adil Rashid has a night that we've seen him have many, many times over the years, and 9 games is not a great deal, so it's not panic stations at all in terms of Adil Rashid. But I just feel if Adil Rashid has a good night, I think England will defend this total. If he doesn't have a great night and New Zealand playing nicely and hitting for 35 without getting too many wickets to their name, I feel New Zealand will get over the line. So I do feel Adil Rashid, Liam and Moeen, they'll have to play that. Liam's such a clever bowler because he can bowl off spin to left-handers and leg spin to the right-handers. But with that short boundary, those combinations are going to be key left and right-handed for New Zealand. Also, this kind of total, we talked about Kane Williamson being like a 150 player. Well, it's beyond that. How's Kane going to play at number 3? He can't just chew up too many balls. He can't just kind of give himself too much of a chance to get in. He'll have to go. But he's such a good player of spin, and he can kind of chip it into the pockets for 2s. That's a Kane Williamson way of playing the spinners. So he's still going to hold a key, but he will have to go that little bit sooner now. The total's a bit higher than he would have liked.
It's such an asset. Michael mentioned someone like Liam Livingstone, and there are so many sides in the world who'd love to have an all-rounder, even if it means you can chip in with a couple of overs, who can bowl a bit of spin. Someone who's in the team purely as a batsman, that's what Livingstone essentially is, but can also chip in.
Yeah, I mean, the epitome of it was Sachin in his early days, People forget he's got about 140 odd one-day international wickets. I mean, he would bowl seam up, he'd bowl leg spin, he'd bowl off spin, and just not allow the batsman to settle.
And Sehwag early in his career.
I think, though Sachin was the more versatile bowler if you look at it in a number of formats. But yeah, that's what they do. And what happens is that, if Moeen gets a couple of overs, between those, if they get 8-9 overs out of, even if they get 8 overs out of the spinners, I think it's going to be really crucial for them, because I think Curran will do the job for them. And I think then it depends on how much they get. I think Wokes will get a little bit up front, and let's see how it goes from there.
I reckon if we're classifying someone who's purely in the team as a batsman, a classical batsman, a top batsman, but also chips in more often than not with a little bit of spin, I guess we've got someone in our panel. Michael Vaughan?
Yeah, my filthy off-spin wouldn't be much use in T20 cricket unless it's a Bunsen burner against the odd left-hander who can't really play. I'm amazed. I'll be honest with you. When you think of Liam Livingstone, there's not many players who can bowl leg spin and off spin. I'm amazed there aren't more of those players in this era of the game. T20 cricket and the game has been around for such a long period of time, and particularly in the subcontinent where spinning plays such a big part. You look at India in their T20 team. One of the main problems that India will find is that they don't have enough bowling options. And I'm just staggered that 1 or 2 of the batters can't just bowl a little bit of this or that to give the team 1 or 2 overs in every T20 game. It's so important. And I see Liam Livingstone, the style of play that he is, it's almost like a blueprint to what you would want to be in a T20 player now. Striker of a cricket ball, brilliant fielder, can bowl a bit of leg spin, can bowl a bit of off spin. You're going to get a few contracts around the world. So I'm amazed that there's not more players coming through the system and through the game. And you were seeing more of a Liam Livingstone style player across all these different franchises. There's probably a few out there, but, in the international game, there aren't that many.
I know, Michael, you mentioned you might have got out a few left-handers who weren't really proficient as batsmen, but the first wicket I saw you take live from 85 yards away, standing on the boundary line, was a certain S.R. Tendulkar in a test match.
Well, again, we seem to always mention that, and I've still got the ball, I've still got the stump. I've just moved house, and one of the first things I made sure that I knew exactly where those items were that were in my box. I got them and made sure that they arrived at my new house. So I've still got the ball, still got the stump. I still look at it every now and again and can't believe that such a great player got out to such a filthy off-spinner like myself.
I love the way he puts it. But if we just have a look at the England lineup and assess, so obviously Michael feels the key lies with Livingstone and Moeen Ali probably bowling in tandem, maybe not full 8 overs, but Adil Rashid as well. But in terms of the seam bowling attack that they do have, whether or not Ben Stokes chips in with a few, Chris Wokes, Mark Wood, and you've talked up Sam Curran a lot, Michael. You still reckon he has a big role to play in this particular defence?
Yeah, I mean, England have got so many options. They've got, obviously, Sam Curran. They've got Wokes, who's skillful. And then they've got Ben Stokes who'll try and swing it. But then you've got the pace, express pace of Mark Wood, who's been really a standout for England in recent times. He's had lots of injuries, and every time you get Mark Wood fit, we all sit back here in the UK and realise how good a cricketer he is, because he brings something that England just don't have. They don't have a Jofra Archer at the minute. They don't have Ollie Stone. So we're desperate for pace in the England side, and Mark Wood offers that, and he's as quick as anyone in the world at the minute. So it's great to see him back playing. It's great to see him in great form, and he'll hold a big key because, you know, he'll be able to bowl really aggressively, particularly when the batters are hitting to that big side, you know, and be able to bowl that bouncer, try and intimidate. I'll be interested to see how New Zealand start their innings. Will they just play circumspect for a couple of overs to try and see if it swings and get rid of it? Or will they come out ultra aggressive? On the back of losing 3 early wickets against Sri Lanka, will that top 3 trust themselves to be ultra aggressive to try and get themselves off to a flying start? Mentality, mindset. I always believe, like Joy said, if your DNA is to be ultra aggressive, doesn't matter if you've had an iffy game, the next game you've got to go back to being ultra aggressive. And the way that they played against Australia in that first game, for me, is the way that you must play. New Zealand have to come out and be aggressive in this first 6.
Well, I think when you said, since he mentioned the DNA, and we saw what Alex Hales did and what he should have done, and he did do that, in terms of New Zealand, other than Kane Williamson, everyone who bats around him, Phillips has already made his presence felt in that middle order. But Finn Allen, Devon Conway, their DNA is aggression.
Absolutely. I think Finn Allen will go for it from first ball. And they will have to. I think 180 is a kind of total where, you know, suddenly you play easy for 3-4 overs and suddenly it's 10 and plus, you know. And, you know, getting in that 10 range within the first 5-6 overs is dangerous. They have to keep, you know, at least at pace with the run rate, because once the spinners come on, there will be a drop. So they've got to tell themselves that, you know, we need 55-60 in the first 6 if you have to stay competitive in this game, because the spinners are going to pull back the rate for a bit.
Well, we might have referred to Michael Vaughan as the doctor because he ordered a certain kind of play for England. But in terms of the professor, as far as predictions are concerned, professor prediction for today, 2 games in a row, we've had it from Joy Bhattacharya. 144 spot on, 175 was close enough with the 4-run margin. So well done, Joy.
Thank you, thank you.
And now that you've got it right, I'm going to go first to you right now and says, is 179 enough?
I think it's enough. I think England again suddenly they've played the way the England we're used to seeing. And I think that confidence will, you know, come with the bowling as well. You know, the whole team will get lifted by the kind. And the fact that their captain has got runs, it always makes a difference when your captain is in form. So I think that's going to make a difference. Really, for me, the question is who can counter punch from New Zealand? Is it going to be Finn Allen? They need somebody to punch back hard in those first 4-5 overs and establish. But right now, if I look at it, it's England's game.
Yes, probably, I know the answer to the question, Michael. I know you said if Rashid performs, etc., but overall, purely in terms of the 179, would you be happy with it at the start?
Yeah, I would, and I think it will be enough. And I'll be honest, if England can't defend 180 on a pitch that's been used 3 times, when you think about, I didn't think they played great against Afghanistan. They lost to Ireland. If you can't defend this on a used pitch, you don't deserve to be going through to the semi-final. So they have to defend it.
Yep, fair assessment, I think. If you've got a challenge like this, you've put the runs on the board. England are the team who need the points more desperately than New Zealand. And we reckon England would be favourites at the moment. They've tossed the ball to Mo. He's going to open the bowling. And we're going to be back in the 10th over on Cricbuzz Combox. For now, with England favourites, we leave you on Cricbuzz Live.